Tom Brady says he's going to play until he's 45 years old. Says there's a 0% chance that he retires at the end of this season. Do you believe him? I kind of do. I kind of do believe that 45 is the goal, but 4 more years of Tom Brady and potentially Bill Belichick would be pretty wild. Belichick, 66 years old, that would take him to 70. Could we really have 4 more years of Tom Brady and the New England Patriots? But I want to bring in the crew and start off with this question. Do you really believe, and I think we have the audio, I want to play it for you, Tom Brady saying that there's no way he's going to retire after this game and that he's going to play until he's 45 years old. This was on ESPN in an interview earlier, and he said this.
Is there any chance that this is your last game? 0.
0.
Say it. I don't want to just say
There's
it.
0.
Pretty straightforward. 0 while he's laughing. He also holds up his hand and says 0. So let me bring in the crew here. Danny G here with me in the Super Bowl in Atlanta. First of all, this is one of the big benefits of the promotion, right? You got to be here instead of Jason Martin.
Yeah, hopefully I can fill his big shoes and drink 10 drinks and miss a show instead of 9 drinks.
We said already, if you make it for all 5 days, you will outperform Jason Martin, who drank too much and had to be was unable to come back on, I think it was Wednesday, right?
Yeah.
Wednesday
after the media
party.
Yeah.
He's pounding drinks like crazy, and then he claims that it was just a coincidence that he wasn't able to work the next day. So if you make it for all 5 days, you will outperform him. Good or bad for the NFL if Tom Brady plays until he's 45?
It's good. Brady's always had such a big chip on his shoulder. It doesn't surprise me that he's saying he's going to play until 45. I don't know what his wife thinks about that because obviously she hasn't been a big fan of him extending his career all these extra years. But because of the fact that he's always still performed like he's an underdog and the way he knows there's so many Patriot haters out there and so many Brady haters, I think he loves to still try to prove people wrong because of that chip on his shoulder. It'll almost be like you, Clay, annoying your staff telling us you're going to do the morning show until you're 80 years old.
Yeah, well, that's certainly not going to happen. I'm going to retire by 50. That's my plan right now. Let's go to the crew. Let's start with you, Eddie. Good or bad for the NFL if he goes till he's 45?
I think it's good for the NFL. All sports are better with superstars in it, and there's nobody bigger in the NFL than Tom Brady for many reasons. And yeah, I just barring some massive injury that we can't obviously predict, I think he's going to make it to 45.
It is interesting. Drew Brees was, I think we had him on last year, or maybe it was 2 years ago. I can't remember. I know we had him at the Super Bowl. It might have been at the Super Bowl in Houston. It might have been at the Super Bowl in Minnesota. It was Houston. We had him on in Houston on this show a couple of years ago, and I asked him about that specifically because Drew Brees was the first guy I ever remember saying, hey, I want to play till I'm 45 years old. And he said at the time, I feel pretty good about that. Now, Brees is 40 years old, turned 40 just before the playoff game where he was robbed by the NFL officials from a trip to the Super Bowl again. His would have been a second trip to the Super Bowl. And I do think in general that is a viable goal. If you think about Nolan Ryan, some of the old pitchers who have had really good arm strength, they've been able to play for a long time, maybe more so than other people. That is maybe the last of the athletic abilities to go because you don't necessarily have to move that much. Your power and your ability to have a strong arm seems to kind of withhold and hang on longer than other athletic attributes would be. But that would be wild if Brady made it until 45 years old. I mean, it'd be absolutely crazy. Dub in Nashville, by the way, and we'll open up the phone lines here later today, but 877-996-6369 is our phone number as always. Are you basically in agreement here that Brady at 45 still a good thing for the NFL?
I do think it's a good thing, and I'm surprised at this point if he doesn't make it to 45 because this guy, when he puts his mind to something, he gets it done, and I think he's going to do it.
I also, there's people like Danny G mentioned, Giselle seems like on some level she'd like him to kind of hang it up. I do wonder what else Tom Brady kind of has going on in his life. He seems maniacally focused on playing football. He's in bed at 8:30. He's not eating tomatoes. He's got the TB12 method that's supposedly all about pliability and keeping him safe. What does he have that he cares about anywhere near as much as football? I think that is a difficult question. I think that he hasn't really had to comprehend. And look, I mean, he seems to have been fairly healthy so far this year. Now, I haven't been on the Patriots bandwagon, and the more I break down this game, the more I think the Rams have a really, really good chance to win this one, and that almost Jared Goff can be the equivalent of what Tom Brady was the first time he won a Super Bowl, kind of a guy who came in unheralded. If you remember the year the Patriots beat the Rams, the Rams were the superstar dynasty. Kurt Warner was the quarterback that nobody could equal. And then I think the Patriots were a double-digit underdog and kind of pulled off an unbelievable win before we understood what Tom Brady was going to represent. Roberto, are you also in? Are you unanimous? Maybe this is not that difficult of a question. See, my thought in general was that there are people out there listening to us right now who do not want Brady to play until he's 45 because they're ready for a new storyline. I'll be honest, I was one of them. I was rooting for the Chiefs to beat the Patriots because I was more interested in seeing how Patrick Mahomes might do in his first Super Bowl than I was how Tom Brady might do in his ninth. I was more interested in seeing that storyline, especially once the Rams won, because I thought, we got a turning of the page Super Bowl if we've got young Jared Goff going up against a 24-year-old Jared Goff going up against a 23-year-old Patrick Mahomes. The question can become, is Patrick Mahomes going to become the face of the NFL if Tom Brady plays until he's 45? First of all, you can make an argument if Brady goes until he's 45 that he is the greatest team sport athlete of all time, right? I mean, I think there's a lot of talk about, is he the greatest quarterback of all time? If Brady were to play until he's 45 and he were continue to play at a high level, I think you could make a strong argument that Tom Brady would be the greatest team sport athlete of all time, that he would pass Jordan, that he would pass LeBron, that the boring LeBron versus Michael Jordan debate might turn into Tom Brady versus everyone. Because if you can continue to play at that high of a level, I think you could make an argument, and it be a legitimate argument, that Tom Brady is not just the greatest of all time in the world of quarterbacking in the NFL, but that it could turn into an argument of, is Tom Brady the greatest team sport athlete player of all time? And I mean, frankly, I don't know who else you could point to. I guess you could go old school Bill Russell. You could go Wilt Chamberlain. You could certainly still make the argument of Joe Montana versus Tom Brady. You could make arguments for other people. But I think there's a legit case to be made if he played until he was 45. And hell, maybe if he just wins this Super Bowl. Maybe that's the standard that Brady's competing against now. I tend to, in my head, think, what are we going to think about Tom Brady in 10 years if he's 5-4 in the Super Bowl, or if he's 6-3, assuming this is his last? Is his legacy really going to be any different? I don't really think so. But if you get that 6th championship, maybe the answer is yes. Maybe he gets a 7th. And then truly, when you get into double-digit Super Bowls, there's not really an argument for anybody else as the greatest athlete of all time. I think it's an intriguing one. But Roberto, are you also in the book of 4 more years of Tom Brady is good for the NFL?
It's good for the NFL, but I hate the Patriots. I want to see this dynasty end as soon as possible. But considering how Brady played this year, I don't think it's going to happen anytime soon. And considering that Warren Moon played till he was 44, I think Tom Brady probably is going to retire at the age of 45. I think we're going to see that.
I think that's one standard. Coop, I know you're not necessarily a Patriots guy, but is it unanimous? This is incredible for the NFL if he could potentially go till he's 45?
I hate the Patriots, but I think that's exactly why it's good for the NFL. Every good story needs a villain, and people love to hate Tom Brady. And so it's good if he continues to play because people continue to hate him. And then when he starts to fall off that cliff, it's still going to be good because people are going to love watching it happen.
Yeah, and I'm not sure he ever falls off the cliff, honestly. I mean, now look, football's unique because we've got a couple of guys who have ridden off into the sunset at the absolute apex of their career. John Elway wins a 2nd Super Bowl, done, out, has a spectacular final game. Peyton Manning wasn't spectacular in his final Super Bowl, but he won it, he got out, won his 2nd Super Bowl. That's the last memory we have of him. I think that's partly why people would like to see Tom Brady leave, but I actually think if he goes out and wins a Super Bowl, Brady, unlike those other 2 guys, seems like he still has a lot left in the tank. And if he's saying 45 is the exit point, it's hard for me to believe he's actually going to hang it up. I know Fox's Jay Glazer had said there's been some talk that Brady and Belichick might both decide to go out on top if they were to win the Super Bowl. I don't necessarily buy into that. I think Belichick is more likely to leave than Brady is, but I can't imagine Belichick walking away and leaving behind Tom Brady with Brady still on a roll.